All right, baby. We are live, but we'll let it breathe just for a moment. Hang tight, guys. Hang tight. We were a little bit later than usual going live because we were ironing out the details on a fun raffle that we're going to talk about here in just a second. But I'm just waiting for the connecto. Welcome in, everybody. It's the Mile High Huddle podcast. I'm your host, Chad Jensen. With me, my fellow football priest. You know him, you love him, Zack Kelberman. Zack, we're going to talk about the anonymous NFL source and that article that's gone viral today. So we're going to get to that. But real quick, first of all, dude, how's your week gone?
It's been kind of pleasant without the Broncos and all their shenanigans, Chad. I kind of miss them in a sense, but it's nice for all of us in the media, the fan base, and the team to have the week off. So I'm taking it for what it is right now, and my blood pressure is much lower this week so far.
Yeah, I don't know. I always feel the absence, like the rhythm of the season with the pressers and the practices and all that stuff. But it is probably for the best, as you say, to get that little detach week where you can kind of exhale a little bit. But yeah, guys, so Broncos are on the bye. We still have lots to talk about, and we're going to get to that tonight. But first, tonight, we are going to be, well, first of all, let me tell you this. We're going to raffle this helmet at the meet and greet last month. A Super Chat superstar who wishes to remain anonymous. Anonymous giving is the highest form of giving, I guess. After all, that's what they say in the Bible. But, or it says in the Bible, this superstar donated a jersey, which we raffled at the event, which was won by Ted, I want to say, Ted Wunderlich. Mm-hmm. And then he also donated this. Oh, I kind of already, that person kind of donated this as well. And we've just been waiting for the right moment. We thought, we'll do it. We'll do it during the bye to give, add some spice. So how are we going to raffle it? Tonight, we're going to take everybody who throws down a super chat. Doesn't matter if it's 99 cents or $99 or whatever. Not trying to sound flippant, but any super chat, their name's going to go into the digital hat. And at the end of the show, we're going to do a raffle and we're going to select. And I'll ship this out to you with a nice little note and a little bit of MHH swag. And for the members, let not your hearts be troubled because we have something special that we're going to be raffling for the members later in the week. So tonight, superstars, super chats, and it's for whatever goes down tonight. That's what counts for the raffle. So there you have it. And the first one I see here, Zach, is Papa Bear jumping in as he is wont to do. We appreciate you so much, big dog. It says, good evening, Broncos country, hashtag 13 and 4 plus, and God bless the USA. Pardon me. Everybody could use that blessing right about now, Zach.
Yeah, and also the positivity and keeping it a little lighter. 13 and 4 for the Broncos, David. You've been on that train the entire season. Got to give you credit for that. And it seems right now that's within striking distance. So thank you for the super as always.
All right, Zach, gun to your head. If the Broncos do lose two more and end up 13 and 4, who are those two losses to?
The Chiefs kind of scare me on Christmas. I'm not going to lie. It's at Arrowhead. They're going to be probably playing for a wild card spot.
Plus, Kelce's going to be pissed.
Oh yeah. Jadae Barron kind of rattled the cage there. But any divisional game, the Chargers too, they're going to be playing for probably a wild card spot. But a gun in my head, the first opponent was Kansas City, obviously.
Yeah, we'll see. We shall see. But Papa Bear, it's awesome to see you. And by the way, what we're talking about relative to Jadae Barron, in case you guys missed it, we put a story out on it today. And it's also kind of been all over social media. So you might have missed it, but you probably didn't. And that is simply that Jadae Barron took to his Instagram channel, account, whatever, this week after the win, which, he did a good job against Travis Kelce. Kelce got his, pardon me, he ended up with whatever it was, Zach, 91 yards and a touchdown. But outside of one big catch, most of that production did not come against Jadae Barron. It was just and yet Jadae Barron for a lot of the game was shadowing him. And so he has also had a really nice pass breakup on Kelce. It was a pretty cool moment for him, especially considering he got robbed of the pick six.
Yep.
But what he did is he jumped on Instagram and there's a picture of him breaking up that pass. And he put a caption that says, tell Swift, Taylor Swift, that is, right? Put me in a song. So right now, by the way, Tell Swift, put me in a song right now, Zach.
This is going to sound like a gloat, even though it's not, and I'll explain why. I posted on X last night that Instagram screenshot. It has like 800,000 views. I woke up to that basically this morning, and that's because the Swifties got a hold of it. And let me tell you something about the Swifties, Chad. Once they get into your mentions, they do not leave. They will make your life a living hell if you go against Travis Kelce, you go against Taylor Swift. I don't want that smoke on X today. So that's Jadae Barron's problem. And what I've understood so far, Chad, he deleted the Instagram story. He also locked his comments, and he kind of backtracked with another recent social media post. So score another for the Swifties, man.
But I can tell you, Kelce's he's gonna be on one for more than that reason, right? They lost. There's a good chance they might be out of the playoffs by week 17, honestly, because they're still 2 games out of 7th seed. So we'll see how it shakes out. But I'm noticing tonight as I'm looking at the comments, YouTube, I'm sure it's temporary, has once again devolved to using people's handles instead of their names on their comments and super chat. So, but we know who David Youngkin is, of course, and it's right there in his handle. Good to see one of our dear members. Thank you for the super chat. He says, for the tiebreaker that the Colts have on the Broncos, do guys want KC? So this week, right? Colts, Chiefs. Who do we want to win? He says, for me, KC, because we already proved that we can beat KC. What do you think, Zach?
Well, it's not just that, David, you're right. And this has kind of been the raging debate on the bye week in Broncos country. Who do we rooting for, Kansas City or Indianapolis? You got to root for the Chiefs. You already have the tiebreaker head-to-head for now over Kansas City. You don't have that over Indianapolis. And also, you're gunning not just for a wild card spot or for the division. Now you're gunning for the 1 seed. And standing in your way right now are those Indianapolis Colts because they have the tiebreaker. So I know it's going to be a tough pill to swallow. I know it's terminal news to hear for Broncos country, but you're going to have to suck it up and root for the Chiefs.
The Colts do have, I think, Zach, a tough schedule from here on out. They came out of their week 11 bye, so last week on bye. They've got the Chiefs on the road, by the way. That's at Arrowhead. Then they got to play the Texans in their division, and the Texans have kind of been resurgent. Although, CJ Stroud, they're on tonight, huh? By the way, I got to turn that on. Jacksonville. So Chiefs, Texans, Jaguars. Jaguars are on the road. Those are 3 moderately difficult, tough matchups anyway, I think, in a row. And then week 15, Zach, at the Seahawks. This is the Colts, okay? Yeah. Then the Niners in Indy, then the Jags again at home, and then on the road at the Texans. So they only have 2 losses right now, 8 wins. Man, I think they'll be lucky to finish with 5 losses. I think that would still be a successful season. I don't think there's coming anywhere close to the 1 seed.
I don't know. They do have the MVP candidate in Jonathan Taylor. They have a quarterback playing really good ball in Daniel Jones, a really good defense. I'm not saying they're going to finish with that record, but they're standing in the Broncos' way right now. So if we can remove one obstacle, even as painful as that could be to root for Kansas City, I guess so be it.
David, thank you for resubscribing as a member. He says something about the billing or something changed on the YouTube side of things. So thank you for re-upping with us, brother. Yep. I see that you're in the hospital, and thoughts and prayers, buddy. Anything we can do, you let us know. Thank you for being a member, big dog. We love you and appreciate you. We also have Lady D checking in from the top rope.
Thank you, Deanna.
Here she is. Hello, Chad, Zach, and Scott. Not sure why I had to create an account to post. That's weird. Last week's try. Zach?
I don't know.
I'm not sure about that second one. Still happy we beat the Chiefs. Yes, party on, MHH for life, for sure. That's weird. That's very weird. I don't know. Maybe it's a YouTube thing. Usually, as I say, 2 things, coincidences. All of a sudden we're seeing, Zach, not names, but handles. And we're hearing weird things about rebilling. And now for Lady D, she had to create an account. I don't know. Either way, Lady D, we love you and appreciate you. It's good to have you back in the chat. We missed you.
Well, I feel bad. Usually I can decipher these kind of things, and I just don't. Last week's try ingredients post. Let us know what you mean, Deanna, excuse me. Thank you so much, as always, for your generous support.
You know, it's funny. That just reminded me of something. So my in-laws, Deanna, you might get a kick out of this. My mother-in-law is also named Deanna. spelled exactly the same. Shout out. And my father-in-law, of course, when he wants to kind of grind her gears or bug her, or just kind of, whatever, he'll call her Diana just for fun, just like to kind of get under her skin, and it drives her nuts. So anyway, it's really great to see you though, Lady D. Much love. And we'll talk to you here. So we got Tucson Phil on Facebook saying, good evening, Chad, Zach, and Scott, Deacon Scott. I think it would be ironic if Kansas City has to beat us at home on Christmas and we knock them out. Hashtag Buckham MHH for life, Broncos. Yeah. So Zach, if it comes down to like they're in a do or die, and for us, it's kind of like last week, Zach, Sean Payton brought this up, in his kind of irritation at what Bill Cowher said. He's like, look, this game, because the Chargers lost, they had the Chiefs way more to lose than we did, and we still handled our business. But it would be ironic, as Phil says here, if KC, you get all the way to week 17, it's Christmas Day, Arrowhead, and they have to go through the Broncos to stay alive.
And the Broncos end their season on Christmas at their house with the entire country and world really watching. That would be incredible, Phil. They just still scare me, though. Until they're officially eliminated, there's always the chance that they're going to strike and they're going to be in the hunt. So we all want the Broncos to sweep them, especially getting that big win on Christmas. But it's going to be another tough game. And just for what Chad said, the more you keep poking the bear, don't be surprised when the bear bites back. And that could happen on Christmas night.
No doubt. No doubt about it. No doubt. So we'll see, Phil. We shall see, my brother. We also have B-Rad jumping in, a dear member on Super Chat. And by the way, everyone who Super Chats tonight, their name goes in the hat for the raffle we're going to do at the end of the show for the snow-capped mini helmet, which is absolutely dope. Perfect for, the game room, the man cave, the office at work, what have you. Etc. So B-Rad, you're in the running, brother. He says the bye week is a breath of fresh air for sure, especially this season with all the close wins.
Yeah.
Still wins though. MHH, we the best in the West. Yeah, it feels good. And that, Zach, has been one of the big symbolic evidences, whatever, of this team's maturation in year 2 of the Payton Nix kind of regime or era. They won one single one-score game last season. And outside of those two, the two losses they have, which were one score, I mean, what can you point to that haven't been one scores? Dallas, Cincy. I'm pretty sure Tennessee, I don't have the score right off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure Tennessee was a one score. So it's like almost every single game they've been in, for the most part this season, one score, and they're finding a way to come out on top.
And it's not going the Chiefs' way. That was their luck last season. They were winning those one-score games. Now they're losing them. That's partly why I feel like they're cooked, but that's kind of a different subject here. It has been a very hectic year. We were in attendance, Chad, for that Giants game, which is still the craziest football game I have ever witnessed in person. It had many other close finishes, the game in London, the Texans game. I mean, it's been very topsy-turvy, and we all, again, like to just take a step back and get our blood pressure down. But that's the mark of a true champion beast, Chad. And I don't know if you saw what Cam Scatabo said today. He predicted the Broncos were going to win the Super Bowl. And in doing so, he said, I hate to say it, but they just find ways to win. And that's all we really care about around here.
Very interesting. Yes, I did see that also making its rounds in Broncos Twitter. So kind of interesting. Broncos are turning heads. Not every single, like Sue's saying here. Thank you also, Sue, for being a member. You're awesome. Hope you're enjoying that jersey that was bequeathed from, I want to say, was it Lady D or Michaela? It was one of the two. I can't recall exactly. But anyway, she says, hi, guys. Love the podcast. Scatabo predicting Broncos in the Super Bowl. Yeah, I mean, he's an example, Zach, of, I think internally the league is a lot more worried about the Broncos than perhaps like the media at large, the national NFL media covering things. Just because, man, like, hey, it's okay if you have a young quarterback still kind of figuring things out, second-year guy. But when he saves his best for last in, like, epic proportions, like historic feats, and just, like, showing that clutch gene and beating quality opponents, and it's 8 in a row. I mean, you can look at the Colts, for example, Zach, and you can point to, when they were having their streak, or we could even talk about the Patriots. But either way, like the Colts, for example, yeah, they have a solid defense, but man, that offense is just putting up so many points, and it's easy to kind of point to why they're winning. And in Denver, you can go, yeah, it's the defense. That's kind of why they're winning. Well, it's the tip of the spear. But the other component is the offense finding a way when the chips were down. And even against the Chiefs, Zach, where they didn't exactly put up a ton of points, Bo Nix got his opportunity when Jaquan McMillan got the Chiefs off the field that last time, and he did not squander it. Drove him down, field goal, some dimes.
Yep.
So respect the Broncos.
Yeah, we just talked about the seat that we had for that game against the Giants, Shannon and Power Field. No one had a better seat in the house than Cam Scatabo watching the Broncos and Bo Nix come back against his team. So I'll take his opinion over some of these other national pundits and anonymous sources.
No doubt. This is the way in the house on Super Chat. A dear member, thank you for the support, big dog. Would love the Broncos to be the ones to shut the Chiefs out of the playoffs on Christmas, by the way. That would be sweet. It would be just kind of, I mean, that win last week, Zach, and just where both teams stand right now currently in the standings is sweet enough, but that would be a nice little cherry on top considering the preceding 9 years.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I've talked about this a lot. We've talked about this a lot, like how they went from utterly hopeless in 2023 to now the top seed in the AFC. Just in 2 years, the turnaround that Sean Payton has done with this organization. And now with the prospect of knocking Kansas City out of the playoff hunt, not the other way around, as it's so often been for a decade. It's amazing. That's why, as much as we can nitpick Sean Payton for the play calling and some of the decisions he's made, no one can deny the impact he's had on the organization from day one, Chad.
Yeah. Well said. This is the way. By the way, I'm guessing that you're a big fan of the Mandalorian show. Are you stoked on the new movie that's coming out? I'm curious. Crushing it. By the way, Zach, we got to get to the Bo Nix Anonymous NFL source thing before we forget and just get lost in the chat. We love to get lost in the chat, but we did title the episode around it, so we got to get to that. Crushing It show in the house. Welcome. Thank you for supporting MHH. And, best to you for the Crushing It. Glad I'm catching you guys live for once. Love listening at work or while editing. You guys are awesome. Go Broncos. Much love to everyone. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And best to you and your show, big dog. Appreciate you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
David T. Barron is funny. I think he needs more playing time. Can't stand Taylor Swift. Well, it's not my cup of tea, as far as the music. I don't really know, Zach, anything about Taylor Swift other than, the obvious stuff with the music and the fact that she's in a very public and famous relationship with Travis Kelce. But Barron, it was interesting. Vance Joseph did a sit down with Peter Schrager this week on his podcast, ESPN, and he talked for quite a while. I mean, they talked, Zach, 30, 40 minutes, a lot of different topics, most of it being Bronco oriented, obviously. And what he had to say about Barron was really interesting. The fact that, their vision for him initially was nickel as a rookie because of their supporting cast, right? You've got Moss and Surtain, you've got McMillan. So his job was to come in and kind of be another nickel guy. But with PS2 going down, they've had to use him and on the boundary, which the way that he distinguished it, VJ, is, look, when you're playing inside as a corner, it's a more thinker's position. You're having to think a lot more. Whereas when you're on the boundary, man, it's all about where's your talent? Can you run? How's your body control? Like, what's your technique? All those kind of things come more into play. And that how it's been really interesting and good for the Broncos to see Barron, who they've been keeping on the boundary, Zach, in base defense, how they've been seeing him rise to the occasion and really flourish and shine as a cornerback on the boundaries. So stock very much up for Jadae Barron.
Yeah, well said. I've learned more about Taylor Swift than I wanted to know based on who's been replying to that tweet about Jadae Barron. But I agree, it was kind of a harmless dig. I think the Colt members, the Swifties, the supporters, they took it a little too much to heart. But I do agree, David, he needs more playing time. And hopefully, even when PS2 comes back, they still deploy Barron as that tight end stopper because they finally found one.
Whoa, we've got the Lady D jumping in again.
Deanna.
She's the bomb.com and just one of the best people you'll ever meet under the sun. Yeah, her and her husband, David. Awesome people.
Yeah.
Lady D says, evening, Chad, Zach, Scott, Broncos country. Glad we have a bye week to get healthy. Why is YouTube acting up this week? Had to open another account to purchase a chat. It's weird. That is very weird, Lady D. I was unaware it was acting up until I noticed the names being different. Now it's the handles, and then David mentioned something, you mentioned something. So on that note, by the way, you may have noticed that we have dispensed with the dual streaming on YouTube where you got the landscape and the vertical. It's just the landscape. We did our little 1 week test as we were asked to do. And, there was some kind of silver linings to it. You can argue it maybe resulted in a few more views for people who live on the vertical side of things on YouTube, but it was too disruptive to the community. You guys just didn't like it. So Zach and I, we're more traditionalists as it goes anyway. So we're happy to do that, but really weird, but glad to have you in the chat tonight. Love you, Lady D.
Man, Chad and I have been having, there's been, I don't know if anyone else experienced it, but like DM issues, chat issues on X as well. There's been StreamYard issues. So that's the state of the technology world that we live in, Deanna. But thank you so much for your super, as always. Thank you.
We got Cody Dub in the house, brother. Hope the young family's doing well. Thank you for being a member as well. He says, what teams would y'all like to see face Denver in the playoffs? Zach, what do you think? So, as you go ahead and start answering that, and I'll pull up the actual playoff picture.
Honestly, it's going to seem like a cop-out, Cody, and thank you for your super, but it's all relative to what Broncos team we get. That's kind of my answer. If we get the version of the Broncos that we saw last week, I don't think it really matters to an extent who the Broncos face. I don't want them to play Buffalo, but I don't think they're going to have to play Buffalo until the AFC title game, or New England for that matter. I don't know. It depends on the playoff picture. I wouldn't mind facing Houston again, Jacksonville, these kind of teams. I wouldn't mind facing Kansas City. I think the Broncos have their number to an extent. I wouldn't mind facing the Chargers. Let's see here before I give my answer. I wouldn't mind facing the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers and his broken wrist. I mean, the Bills would be a little bit of a challenge, a little bit of a bugaboo. Jags don't scare me. Chargers don't scare me. So really, in that conference, I don't know that I want to see Drake May just yet, and I don't know that I want to see Josh Allen just yet, but bring everyone else on, man.
Yeah, so I don't know. It really depends. It's too early for me to answer that question,
it's tough.
Cody, just because
we don't know.
So crucial to the playoffs or how teams are playing leading into it, like that momentum, including the Broncos. So, I mean, the obvious answer as things sit right now is you go, let's see him play the Jags or the Chargers or the Steelers, or even a rematch with the Colts, or love to see the Patriots with their second-year quarterback. But it really just depends on how those teams are shaping up by the time we get to, week 18, really. He jumps in again saying there's 4 quarterbacks in their second year that have won a Super Bowl. Can you guess them? I know Ben Roethlisberger is one of them. Did Mahomes win in 2018?
Did Russ win his second year?
Oh, Russ, you're right. 12, 13. Yep. So there's 2. Roethlisberger, Russ. I won't do any Googling. That's a toughie. What do you think, Scott?
Steve Young?
I don't know. You'll have to tell us, Cody.
I'm just guessing.
We could totally Google it, but we would be ruining it.
I think we got 3 out of 4 though.
With the Chiefs?
I think Mahomes, what did we say? Mahomes, Roethlisberger, and Russ.
Who won the Super Bowl?
Maybe I'm wrong.
2018. That was so I got to go 2019. Hold on.
It's got to be the modern era, right? Oh, Aikman?
No, that was the Patriots in 19 defeating the Rams. So I'm not sure. That's an interesting question, buddy. Yeah, exactly. That's true.
Brady.
Oh yeah, Brady 2000-2001. That's true.
How we forget him. And so we got Kurt Warner, apparently.
Kurt Warner.
I never would have guessed that.
Does that really count his second year, though? I mean, like, he had kind of hung around the NFL so long. But either way, let's look at those names. So Russ, Big Ben, Brady, Warner. 3 of those guys are Hall of Fame locks. 2 are already in. Well, not already in. Russ? Do you think Russ will make it to the Hall of Fame, Zach?
Yeah.
I do too.
He's got a Super Bowl. Yeah, he's got all the counting stats. He'll make it.
He's got some pretty insane career numbers, and he did get the ring. So, and he went to 2.
People forget how good he was before he got to Denver.
True. Tone Van Tool, I always botch your name, buddy. Thank you for throwing down a super chat, my friend. We're going to be doing a raffle at the end of the show for this snow-capped mini helmet for the superstars tonight. Ronk jumping in. Great to see you.
Thank you, Ronk.
A dear member and a good friend. Okay, Zach, let's take a second real quick. So you had the story today, and because you and I were having DM issues, I was like, this was a pleasant surprise for me when I woke up this morning. I'm like, oh, this is a great read. What we got cooking here? And so Jeff Legwold, ESPN, longtime Denver beat writer for ESPN, reported Wednesday that, quote, league offensive coaches and personnel executives are concerned about Nix's footwork. I'm quoting my part here now, which they believe has become spottier since his 2024 campaign. And then Legwold, quote, they also mentioned that Nix has more of a penchant for a fadeaway jumper type passes, which at times impact his accuracy. In addition, according to Legwold, multiple people, quote unquote, noted that Nix appears uncomfortable with the pace of head coach Sean Payton's offense, which relies heavily on substitutions, quote, outside of the late game drives when the team is in more of the hurry up mode. And apparently this was expressed by an anonymous but longtime quarterbacks coach who said, quote, they're winning and he's been really good late in games, and that's all that matters. I know that. But big picture, I'd be concerned that they look hurried all the time when they're not trying to play fast. I'm not there. I don't know if they put more on his plate than last year, but they look hurried and not good hurried. And he plays that way after the snap sometimes, leaving the pocket when he doesn't have to type thing. When he climbs the pocket, it's not always looking for a play. It's more sudden, like, get me out of here, close quote. Which I think his last observation there, Zach, about the times where it doesn't always look like he's looking for the play. When he climbs, it's like, oh my gosh, I got to get out of here. I think that's a fair observation, but break it down for people. What do you make of this?
Well, here's my observation. He says the Broncos are winning, but, which is discrediting it in itself, Chad. Then he goes, I'm not there, but, and then he goes, at times he could look erratic. At times he could look uncomfortable. What quarterback at times isn't erratic? What quarterback at times doesn't look uncomfortable? There's been footwork issues. I think it's been common knowledge. You don't have to be a longtime quarterbacks coach to decipher that. You could see it if you put on a YouTube video, Chad. But he's still 9-2, guiding the best team in football, or one of them, the best record in the AFC, number one seed. What other quarterback would have a hit piece come out against them on a bye week, considering those circumstances? It's crazy. All he's done is win 8 fourth-quarter comebacks, the most for a player in his first 2 years in NFL history, the third most in franchise history, and we're talking about at times he could be erratic? Come on, man.
Hot takes that hold water. I feel you. And you know the Broncos were not pleased to see that from ESPN Denver because of what you just said. The fact that, well, hello, we just took utter control of the AFC West. We've won 8 games in a row, and you guys are going to try a hit piece on Bo Nix. Is that really the best time for you to be publishing this article? But yeah, guys, look, on everything Zach just said is true. We all know Bo Nix has been inconsistent at times this season. His big calling card and the big, he can hang his hat on type thing is the fourth quarter execution, the clutch gene. When the chips are down, that's when you get the best version of Bo. I do agree that something about the substitutions with Sean Payton seems to at times be overwhelming, and not just to Bo Nix, but just like the flow of things, which I get it on the field. That's Bo Nix's job to kind of manage, so to speak, and so it ends up reflecting on him. But I got to think that's something Sean Payton during this bye ought to take a decent look at, not to eliminate it as part of his thing, because Zach, as we learned, I think it was earlier in the season, or it might've been right before the season kicked off, but that another anonymous defensive coach saying one of the things that makes it hard to two things that make it hard to go against Sean Payton is his first 15 are usually killers. And then just all the substitutions, it just constant thing keeps defenses trapped in different personnel. They don't have, they can't anticipate what it's going to be. And so then they try and change their personnel. And then they're always kind of playing catch up, and so they're on their heels. And I get that can be Zach an advantage, but not when it comes at the expense of the quarterback. So, and I'm not saying that it always does. I'm just saying that these are things that the bye week is for. It's not just rest and recuperation, healing up, Zach. It's self-scouting, diagnosing themselves where things might be going wrong, where they can invest some additional time to clean things up.
But again, just like the footwork issues, you've noticed if you have even a modicum of football IQ, you've noticed the substitution issues are excessive with the Broncos and Sean Payton and his playbook. Any reasonable casual fan can point that out. The article from Jeff Legwold was evaluating Bo Nix at the bye week. Bo Nix, he of a 9-2 team, number 1 seed in the AFC, Chad, and Legwold devoted a whole chunk, the middle of the article, to anonymous sources who, by the way, they never put their name on anything. Funny how that works. It's just funny, and it's just another thing that would only seem to me to happen to Bo Nix.
Elias, good to see you, buddy. He says, I love our running backs, but running back, but have we signed a running back to the practice squad that weighs over 225 pounds? No. The only guy on the practice squad, which I had to be reminded of after the JK thing, I had forgotten about him, was Deuce Vaughn. And Zach, stiff breeze, he's blown away. He's about as light as it gets in the league for a running back.
Yeah, Elias, Damian Pierce from the Texans, or now formerly of the Texans, the running back, he's in the Dobbins mold. He's more of a power runner. He got released today, so I wonder maybe over the rest of the bye week, do the Broncos pick up the phone and bring him in for a visit?
What they really need, Shannon, is RJ Harvey to figure out his thing. Eric Trickle had a breakdown on RJ today that just kind of really drew into focus how, you look at his box score and he's got 4 yards per carry and you go, okay, solid for the rook. But when you remove his 2 runs of 50 and 40, that yards per carry drops to 2.3, I believe, something like that. And how he can change it, how the Broncos can help him there. And it's bad enough though, his down to down yards per carry, that it kind of forces the Broncos to start thinking of backup options, fail safes, in the event that a couple weeks into his run as RB1, it's looking the same. He might just need more time, in other words, to continue developing his NFL vision. Shannon, brother, great to see you. Whoa, thank you for that big super chat, dude.
Thank you.
Shout out. Thank you for being a dear member as well. Says, I thought Bo's footwork looked better on Sunday. People seem to forget he is still developing. Elway took time to be the amazing QB he was. I think people just have a bias against Sean. That's a big reason for kind of the NFL perception, the way the Broncos are postured out there in the press. But no doubt about it, Zach, Bo took advantage of the mini bye to really correct a lot of the footwork issues. There was a couple of those spooked moments, a couple of those fadeaway jumper types. There were a couple in that game, but for the most part, by and large, his footwork was way better, Zach.
There was a couple graphics a few weeks ago that compared Bo through his first 25 starts, and he had comparable or better numbers than both John Elway and Peyton Manning. And I got crapped on X, and they said, "Oh, you can't compare historical errors." But I bet if you were comparing Bo Nix to Ryan Leaf, for example, that would work just fine. Shannon, what I'm going to say here is not disparaging at all. I'm happy that you're kind of emphasizing my point here, and you're right. If you can notice Bo's footwork problems or the fact that it got better, we don't need an anonymous source to tell us that it could be erratic. Every quarterback gets erratic. Put on the film from Sunday. Watch Patrick Mahomes against the Broncos defense. He was plenty uncomfortable. He was plenty erratic. But you're right, and thank you so much for your super chat.
Absolutely, buddy. Really, really appreciate you. We also have here David Youngkin jumping in again to say, bold prediction, 15-2. We run the West. Hey, man, it would be kind of cool to see that, but I'm telling you right now, having lived through, it wasn't that long ago. I guess it kind of was, but 2012 now, we're talking more than a half decade. So, but the Broncos, that winning streak, man, it fooled them into a false sense of complacency when they got that bye. And the upstart Ravens, which, they had a phenomenal defense. Their offense sucked, dude. Outside of their running backs, their offense was not good. And they allowed Joe Flacco to come in there. And it took a prayer, kind of like you don't see that but every like 4 or 5 years in the playoffs, the Joe Flacco bomb to what was his name? Jacoby Jones. I want to say, yeah, Jacoby Jones. You got plays like that. The minute, what they call it, the Minneapolis Miracle that saw Sean Payton's Saints go down to Case Keenum right before the Broncos signed Case. That happens every 5 years or so. You got some big iconic play, DT, Tebow in 2011 in overtime. Broncos were on the wrong side of that, and I think a big part of it, Zach, was that 11-game winning streak. I think it was kind of lulled them into that we the best, and they slept on the Ravens.
You made a point a couple nights ago where you said you almost hope that the Broncos lose one more game at least or whatever, or just one game before they go into the postseason, because you want them to kind of get that over with. You feel like they're due for one. You don't want them to go into the postseason. I think it's a superstitious thing, Chad, and I am right there with you as well. I hope, though, we want the Broncos to win every game, absolutely. I'm not advocating for them to lose. We hope, though, and we're realists enough to recognize it could happen, but we hope it would happen against an NFC team. So Packers, it's all yours.
Mazaby, welcome. Thank you. Down in Australia, in Oz, proven Broncos country, not a geographic location. It is a state of being. Welcome. Thank you. Stats are showing Denver has a top 3 defense and O-line. Denver already has beaten both of last year's Super Bowl teams. What's your fear stopping this team from making the Super Bowl? Well,
it's easy.
I will tell you right now, for me, it's the run game is the only thing with JK going down that gives me pause. And I have faith in RJ in the long term. Don't get me wrong. But, guys, he has not been very good as a ball carrier outside of 2 runs this year. And so if that improves, guys, almost impervious. Like, how can you stop a team that can run the ball? Best defenses. Scott did a great job illustrating last night when we did the Mile High Insiders together. And a quarterback that just wins in the clutch. Like, it's hard to beat a team like that, Zach.
What's my fear of stopping the Broncos making the Super Bowl? The Broncos. That to me, that's the easiest answer. They beat themselves. When they lose games or when they play poorly, most of the time they're not getting whooped like the Dolphins did to them with the 70-20 game. They're beating themselves. They're self-imposed, self-forced errors, shooting themselves in the foot, turnovers, and things of that nature. When they get out of their own way, they can beat any team, and they have beaten quite literally every team on the schedule.
Taylor in the house. What's going on, big dog? Good to see one of our awesome members and superstars. Hey, guys, one thing on QBs getting their calls. Yes, Payton would get his calls, Peyton Manning. But here and there, Pat and Brady were way more often in overkill. So meaning the refs, right? Sympathizing and overreacting to protect and this and that. So I've made that point, I'm sure, is what you're referencing here, Taylor, is that when we complain about Patrick Mahomes and back in the day, Tom Brady, man, like, well, we also benefited from that for about 4 years with Peyton Manning. Although this could be what I'm about to say here, Zach, a completely orange-colored glasses thing, and I'm freely open to that as a distinct possibility. It didn't seem to be as prevalent with Peyton Manning as it was with Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes.
Now it seems like more so than the referees, the announcers are the bigger problem when it comes to Pat Mahomes. Tony Romo and Chris Collinsworth just gushing about him over and over. It's absolutely nauseating. That's the nature of the beast, though. They're the star. They're the cash cows. They're the face of the NFL, and they'll do anything to protect those cash cows. You have to earn it, and you can argue whether Peyton deserved it and earned it, but obviously the Shield didn't feel the same.
George Fox, good to see you on Facebook, buddy. Feels good not to have to be getting ready for a game. Broncos for life, MHH for life. Thank you, pal. Yeah, it's they do the bye week for a reason, and I think it can be helpful for everybody, including the fans. Alan Hurt, George Fox jumping in again. Alan Hurt.
Oh, Josh Allen was hurt, that went back into
Josh
the game.
Allen. I see him in the game right this second, but thanks for the update there, George. Appreciate you, buddy, while we're live here. Tanner Putney jumping in with some stars on Facebook. Thank you, pal. Very nice to have you. Welcome. Lady D again jumping in.
Thank you, Deanna.
She says, my opinion, the media will always downs the Broncos and players. They hate us. and they can hate all they want. We will keep winning. Yep. And that's something you were probably around for this, Lady D, but this actually dates back to the Drew Lock era. And Zach coined it, and we made a t-shirt that had the E's as the number 3 that said, let them hate. And we kept that going with Russ. We still say it, but we couldn't quite, the iconography didn't quite line up with Bo and the number 10. But yes, Zach, let him hate. The Broncos, Sean Payton, I think thrives on it. Like, I think that's part of why he treats the media the way he does is I think he loves that adversarial component because it gives him a bone in the locker room. It gives him a little bulletin board, extra juice in his team meetings. And oh, by the way, he probably has, I don't know this, but wouldn't surprise me, Zach, with how much we know he pays attention, Sean Payton, even during the season to the press. Wouldn't surprise me if one team meeting per week, he's showing little press clippings of shade or, posts on X, not from fans, but from, actual media, bona fide journalists and whatnot. Wouldn't surprise me, but he makes good use of that stuff, Zach.
It's easy to sound cool saying let him hate and sounding self-righteous and indignatious, but when you finish 5-11 or 5-12, it doesn't quite hit the same. Now, when you're on a 9-game winning streak, when you have a 9-2 record, the number 1 seed in the AFC, you can say that and it actually counts for something because we don't care around these parts. We don't care if they win by 1 point or by 100 points. We don't care what Nick Wright says. We don't care what Pro Football Focus says. We don't care. Their opinions are irrelevant. All we care is the result on the field, and the result on the field has been excellent. So thank you, Deanna, as always.
Kind of ironic too, since you brought up like PFF. Bo Nix, you posted about this on X. No longer the 33rd, 34th, 35th ranked quarterback. He is the
13th. Still below Marcus Mariota, though. So
yeah,
make of that what you will.
Ronk jumping in again saying the Kansas City Chiefs missing the playoffs will feed other NFL team fans. Yeah, I mean, they've become the modern version of the Patriots, and credit to them. The Tom Brady, Belichick Patriots, credit to Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Like, they deserve it. They got out there and they did it. They got her done. And so everyone likes it when the big bully, Zach, is, someone finally stands up and pops them in the chin. They go down. But look, this isn't, Scott, yesterday he said something that made me think. We did a stream for MHI together because neither Luke or Tom could make it with stuff going on. He said, I wouldn't necessarily call Sunday's win a changing of the guard. Now, I won't go in to try and explain why he said what he said, but when he said it that way, I started thinking about it. I'm like, well, it's not exactly a changing of the guard. Yes, in this sense, it's angling toward the Broncos finally snapping the streak of the division crown, going to the Chiefs and all that stuff. But the way this division, Zach, is shaping up with the coaching talent and quarterback talent, this is going to be like the best years when Burrow and Lamar are healthy, in the AFC North, where you're dealing with, who's it going to be? The Steelers, the Bengals, are going to be the Ravens, like those 3 teams constantly having it out. And I think that's kind of what you're going to see so long as, because all those quarterbacks are in the AFC West. And Zach, Mahomes is now the elder statesman, really, right? And he's still a pretty young guy. Like, he came in the league under 10 years ago. So it's a great sign. I'm not trying to take the wind out of anybody's sails here. All I'm saying is the way Scott said that, I'm like, yeah, it's kind of more like, but that's why, Zach, when they do get one in a given year, man, you relish it because it ain't easy in this division.
I got to be honest, Ronk, and thank you for the super. I really don't care about other NFL teams' fans. I care about Broncos country and how sweet that would be for Broncos country to knock Kansas City out of the playoffs in their house on Christmas night with the world watching. Man.
PJ Rivas in the house, a longtime Super Chat superstar. It's great to see you, PJ. By the way, we need you to become a member on YouTube, brother. We need you in the fold. PJ says, just dropping by to say thank you. Hello, Broncos country. What a great season so far. Let's go. Another interesting thing that just reminded me of, guys, go watch that interview with Peter Schrager and Vance Joseph. It's a great conversation, but he talked about when he was asked, to share a Sean Payton story or anecdote or whatever. He goes on to talking about, yes, we'll hang tight, Smouse, hang tight. He went on to talk about how at some point Sean he paints a great picture. VJ talks. He's great at, like, he's got the vision. It's one thing, Zach, to have the vision. It's another thing to be able to articulate it and paint it in a way that everybody can buy into. And he talks about how he said, look, man, this team, this franchise, it's always been a winning organization. And it's had some iconic eras, the Elway era, the Manning era. And I think this team can begin to have its own distinct little piece of that real estate where people are talking about this era of the Broncos in the future. And I thought that was really cool. Unique Prepping, thank you for letting me design the Let 'em Hate. That's true, the Let 'em Hate logo when Drew Lock was around, taking it all the way back, dude. Heck yeah, bro. It's great to see you, pal.
Thank you, Unique, for the super.
But yeah, isn't that interesting? Like, this, we can be a new kind of like cornerstone era of the Broncos, Zach.
And it starts with dethroning the Kansas City Chiefs, and it seems like the Broncos did just that on Sunday.
Chris Bell has been a member for 2 months. Woot, woot. Heck
Thank
yeah,
you, Chris.
brother. Appreciate you. Thank you for chiming in tonight, saying evening, Chad and Zach. Deacon Scott, I don't know what to do with football this weekend, but can't wait to attend the game next week. My first game since like 2000. Hope to see some MHH family there. Who was it that was saying, Scott, last night they were going? Well, I'll try and remember. So there will be some guys there, some folks there. Elias again, Seattle versus Broncos Super Bowl, please. Ooh, man, that'd be tough. That'd be a toughie, man. Although it would give the Broncos the opportunity to exercise the Super Bowl 48 demon.
Yeah, I don't know that I want Seattle. I mean, not just Super Bowl 48, but the last 2 times they faced them in the regular season, once with Russ and once with Bo, just seems like the Seahawks have their number, and they're a tough team this year. So I don't know about that.
By the way, Naj Al-Toth, the legendary Mount Rushmore superstar, is going to be at the Washington game too. So Sue Gibson jumping in again saying, just saying, happy with Bo, the comeback kid. Yeah, I mean, how could you not be? That's another thing. Zach, I DM'd you today or I messaged you. I might have texted you. I don't know. I'm kind of losing track with how our normal thread of communication. But either way, that I'm going to grab what VJ said to Schrager about Bo Nix. I'm going to write a story on it. Well, yeah. I'll give you a little snapshot. And he said, almost by way of passing, kind of like in passing, he's mentioned, man, the locker room, because he's being asked questions about the defense. And, he's talking about these players on his team, and not just his unit, but his team, almost like a father talks about their sons, like a very, prideful, like loving, respectful pride, like very cool to see it from VJ. And especially now that he's got the grade, makes him look distinguished and more fatherly anyway. But what he said about Bo is that, man, this team, the players, that's one thing that's unique about this team relative to previous iterations of the Broncos. It's a credit to Sean Payton and the culture. And that's just that they're all together and they love each other. And this team loves Bo Nix. He wasn't even being asked about Bo Nix, but man, Bo Nix can do no wrong in this team's eyes, and etc., which was kind of cool to hear. And as B-Rad's jumping in again to say, Bo is now known as Captain Clutch.
Yeah, I really like that nickname a lot. Thank you for that. We got George Fox saying, I think it would be great to go to Kansas City knowing that they are already out of the playoffs. Just think of that. Yeah, that's why I said the possibilities going into that Christmas night game are very tantalizing if you're a Broncos fan.
David says, again, jumping in, thank you, pal. Broncos starters may not even play week 17. I mean, once in a blue moon, a team has it so locked up that they could. But do you really want to rest starters for 3 weeks as the 1 seed? Like, start playing with fire. The last game, sure, but I'd be stunned. Even if the Broncos are undefeated leading into it and they've got like the 1 seed locked, I'd be shocked. Not just because the 2 games, are you going to sit in 2 games thing, but it's the Chiefs again. Like, it's a pride thing too, Zach.
Yeah, like I agree with you. If they rest starters for week 18, that's one thing. I don't think it's an extend too far beyond that. And don't forget, Sean Payton's going to want to go out there and, he wants to evaluate the younger players, absolutely, but he wants to also win every game too. So he's going to try to do that as best he can.
Chris Bell jumping in again, not to mention we're where we are record-wise while eating all that money from Russ this year. That's another thing that Scott really emphasized last night. Wasn't it fun to have Scott on the podcast and you got to see him instead of just hear us talk about him for a change? Just what the Broncos, Zach, have been able to achieve just these past 2 seasons, 85 million dead. What is it? 36 some odd of it this season. And he goes on to say, so imagine what we'll look like when that burden is gone.
The intestinal fortitude on Sean Payton to bench Russell Wilson, cut Russell Wilson, eat all that dead money, draft Bo Nix, and then make him into the franchise guy. That's why I've nitpicked him a lot for his play calling. I've said he should be held to account, not necessarily fired, but heavily criticized. But you cannot deny the turnaround that he's had with the organization in just a couple years.
We got the Ronk gifting 5 MHH memberships in the chat. Let's go. Thank you, brother. Seriously. And I'm sure those 5 folks who just got a notification saying they're a member are stoked, dude. Thank you, Ronk. Tucson Phil, is it possible that RJ Harvey being rotated so much has slowed his progress? I don't think he rotated much in college. Now, he was the guy at UCF. I don't know. I mean, I guess really he's gotten a solid snap share because, by the way, his contributions as a pass catcher have been phenomenal. Like, that's been his asset, you know, like that's the special thing he's brought to the table for the Broncos. I don't know, you know, playing second fiddle, in other words, Zach, to J.K. Dobbins for the bulk of the season thus far. How much do you think that may have slowed his progress?
I don't see his progress being slowed, Phil. I kind of disagree there. I think he's been exactly what the Broncos thought they were getting with the second round pick in RJ Harvey. And like Chad said, he's been an explosive pass catcher. I mean, down the field on 20-yard wheel routes and everything, not just screen passes. He'll get better as a runner, but we can't fault him for the first game against a really tough Kansas City defense, no J.K. Dobbins, and he wasn't meant to be the guy right now. So I don't think his progress is being slowed. I think he's about where the Broncos wanted him to be.
Okay, guys, real quick, I want to pause. Whoa, that's weird. Oh, never mind. I misread it. So we're at about 51 minutes. We're going to be doing the raffle here. In fact, should we do it now? Let's do it now. Okay. We're closing it off. Here we go. We're going to do the raffle. All right. You guys know how we do the jersey raffle. This is going to be similar. All the names are in. So if you see your name pop up, you've been eliminated. What you want is you want to be the last name revealed here. So Maisie B is out. Thank you for throwing down a super. Smouse Unique Prepping is out. Elias Bernal is out. PJ Rivas is out. Shannon Mills is out. This is what's at stake. David McElrath, the Papa Bear's out. Team 19 is out. Lady D is out. B-Rad is out. Taylor Christensen is out. Sue Gibson is out. Okay. Team 20. Who do we? I see. Continue. Never mind. Ronk is out. Okay. This is the way is out. All right. Team. Okay. Yep. Keep her going. Yep. David Yunkin is out. I understand what that means now. Okay. Go continue. Okay. David T is out. We're getting close, guys. 4 left. Cody Dubb is out. Ton is out. And who it is? Crushing It Show. Crushing It Show wins.
Oh, wow.
Crushing It Show wins the snow-capped fair and square. And so those Team 23s, I'm sure in the My League, there's only certain segments that you can run. And so they have to put something there. But either way, Crushing It Show, here's what you do. You shoot me an email, milehighhuddle@gmail.com, and just get me your shipping address. We'll get it on the road to you. You'll have it way before Christmas. So congratulations. Thank you. And again, guys, this was donated by a phenomenal Super Chat superstar. It's a name that if I were to mention it, everyone would recognize very, very quickly. And so much love and respect to that individual. Very selfless and generous person, like one of the most selfless and generous people I've ever known walking the earth. So big shout out to that person. And for the members specifically, guys, we're going to be doing another raffle on Sunday. So stay tuned for that. And then we begin our new game week with the Broncos getting back at it against the Commanders.
I think back to what Crushing It told us, that he never really gets to watch the show. He listens to us all the time while he's working or editing. I'm pretty sure that was Crushing It. So
yeah,
that's good karma in action right there. You deserve that. Congratulations. Thank you so much for tuning in, and enjoy the helmet.
Yeah. So cool. Crushing It. Shoot me that email, pal, and I'll get it shipped out to you. Very, very cool. And let's just take real quick here, Zach. We're about out of time, but I just want to grab some member comments. Todd Ostendorf, I think Andrew Luck might have been the only exception because everyone loved Luck coming out of college. Oh, I might have missed a conversation. QB. Oh, he's trying to say QBs need really thick skins. Comes with the territory because they get shade until they win a championship. Yeah, Luck was universally glazed, Zach, from the drop, but he earned it out of the drop too. Like he was immediately a force to be reckoned with, as a number 1 overall pick, being compared to Elway and Peyton Manning as, can't miss number 1 overall guys, which later on Trevor Lawrence got some of that stuff.
Yeah, he was glazed and a lot of that well-deserved, but he also had to live up to those expectations. Peyton Manning's successor, number 1 overall pick, generational prospect. He was expected, not hoped to be a future Hall of Fame quarterback. So that's not easy either.
My message here, Ronk, to Nick Wrong, who Ronk says is still sour about the Broncos beating the Chiefs, is let him hate. Eat your heart out, pal. Keith jumping in, one of our dear friends and longtime supporters, jumping in to say, Garrett Bolles said Broncos country didn't like him the first couple of years, and he didn't like himself on the field either. He would angry rake his parents' leaves. Yeah, Zach, there was definitely it took him some time to turn the ship around, even after he turned in what it was at a second-team All-Pro in 2020, and he got that big second contract. He's now on his third. But even after that, Zach, it took a couple years he had so traumatized people. And it's kind of like what Riley Moss is going through right now, where the refs begin hyper-focusing. And honestly, guys, point of attack players and players who are having to be physical, you could probably turn on a game and watch that individual on a snap-to-snap basis. And if you really wanted to be nitpicky, say, oh, there's a penalty on almost every single play. You could argue it. It doesn't happen, obviously, but when these players, Zach, start getting in the crosshairs of the officials, it begins to feel that way. And Bolles, it took a couple years after he started eliminating that stuff to really kind of gain back the love and full support of Broncos country. And I don't think, Zach, it's reached that Moss has reached that epic level that Bolles did quite yet in terms of the way he's perceived in Broncos country, because he is also so good as a cornerback. But man, he's got to fix that. That's why one of my takeaways here, even though Keith mentions Moss not once.
Some of us, I won't say myself, we're patient with Garrett Bolles and it paid off. I think I'm definitely patient with Riley Moss and I know it'll pay off. He's definitely a good cornerback too to have, but thank you for sharing that.
All right. I'm just taking one last peek here. Let me grab this from Glenn in Oz. Good to see Glenn and his boy Jackson probably watching as well. So shout out. Good afternoon, Chad, Zach, and Deacon Scott in Broncos country. Remember, he's tomorrow. He's the next day. Really looking forward to seeing us after the bye. Nix looks great after a proper rest. Payton implants better play calling, more Pat Bryant on offense. PS2 back in the secondary. Benito Cooper and company rushing opposing QBs to the ground. MHH for life. State of being. Amen to that. And yeah, Zach, all signs for now point to PS2 and Singleton probably being available for the Commanders.
Yeah, based on the reporting, it seems like Singleton's may be a little murkier his status, but it seems like PS2 will be back, and that's going to be another primetime game, another game the Broncos should win. So more power to them.
Sue says, I hope the owners back up the Brinks truck for Vance. Don't want him to leave. Some guys are better as coordinators. Yeah, but he's definitely, especially again after watching that conversation with Peter Schrager, you can tell he's hankering for another bite at the apple. So that's not to say that he couldn't be persuaded to stay with the right offer, but I just don't see it. Riley Bacon, a dear member, can anybody tell me why, if VJ leaves, we would get 2 third-round picks? Zach?
The NFL I think it was last season they implemented this. It's to encourage more teams to hire minority candidates in prominent positions like general manager and head coach. Only for those, though. It wouldn't apply to an assistant coach or a coordinator. It would have to be a head coach or GM. So the Broncos would be entitled, if VJ gets a head coaching job, to 2 consecutive third-round compensatory draft picks from the NFL.
By the way, shout out to Pearl. She said, I've been listening and working. It's Awesome. And congrats to crushing it. Really cool for you, pal. All right, guys, we got a few things to go over with you real quick. Then we're going to take one last look at the chat, so don't go anywhere.
Another tremendous episode, as always, of the Mile High Huddle podcast. If you're not doing so, please follow us on X at the MHH Pod. You can follow the main account on X at Mile High Huddle, Chad at Chad and Jensen, myself at Kelberman NFL, and Scott, our producer, at Scout Kennedy. If you guys want some merch like we're rocking each and every single podcast, check out MHHmerch.com and get you some. If you haven't done so yet, please drop us a like at Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. You can find us on Instagram at Mile_High_Huddle. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure you're leaving your football priest a 5-star review for a chance to win some merch each and every single month. But if anything, y'all, please, as always, make sure you subscribe, you like, you share this video and every video you see on the MHH channel. It really helps us grow and reach more Broncos fans just like you.
By the way, those of you who do purchase the merch, whether it's a hat, a t-shirt, whatever it may be from MHH merch, when you get your merch, if you would like us to flex you out on our social media, our Instagram, our YouTube community tab, X, Facebook, whatever it may be, as long as you DM us or email us a picture of you in that, we would love to totally post it out there and flex you. So when you get a hat, when you get a t-shirt, just email us, milehighhuddle@gmail, and we'll flex you out and tag you on the respective channel of your choice, because you deserve it. So much love and respect. Let me see here. Yeah. I think we got all the main topics. Last thing here from Ronk. Bolles is one of the favorites to win Protector of the Year award for the best OL in the NFL. He's had a phenomenal season. Ironically, the Chiefs game was his worst in terms of numbers of pressures allowed this season, but he is definitely in the running. He's one of the top 2 or 3 guys for that first time ever award. Mile High salute, a special shout out to all the great Super Chat Superstars supporters and dear members helping us keep the lights on tonight, like the Papa Bear, David Yunkin, David T. re-upping and throwing down a super, Brad, a.k.a. B-Rad, This Is the Way, the Lady D, love you so much, appreciate you. Crushing It Show, also proud winner of the snow-capped helmet, Sue Gibson, Cody Dubb, Tucson Phil on Facebook, Ton, I think it's Tone, I don't know. Did I already say Ronk? Ronk, of course, Elias, Mazaby, Taylor Christensen, Chris Bell, PJ Rivas, been with us a long time. PJ Rivas goes way back with MHH. Shannon Mills, much love and respect. George Fox, Tanner Putney on Facebook. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, Smouse in the house, unique prepping. I think that's everybody. Yeah. So much love and respect, guys. Thank you so much. Fun show. And I don't know what it is. When we do the raffles and the giveaways, that always makes for a fun, energetic, just conversation. I love it. So we'll see you, Zach and I, together on Sunday. And let's see, Broncos book club for the members. We got to do some catching up on the Wade Phillips book, Son of Bum. That'll be Saturday at 2 p.m. Mountain, 4 p.m. Eastern. So can't wait.
Have a great rest of your night. Have a great start to your weekend. We will see you Sunday night. Take care, and as always, go Broncos.